Okay, I was just organizing a little bit my very cluttered desk, and I was going through a pile of my papers, and I came across these two pieces right here. This one, I'm sure, was a kind of a demonstration of how not to use the cloud cumulus stamp, you know, in this real blocky kind of like brick lane type of format here at a convention. And you know, if someone's buying that stamp, I usually like to show them this just in terms of what not to do with it. And this one right here, I don't know, it looks like there was a piece of lint or something like that on this curvilinear road, so I just kind of wiped it off and stamped it again up here just to make sure that that area right there was stamping out and it wasn't some sort of air bubble in the rubber, which there wasn't, because you'd see it where it's stamped out right there. So I don't know, these pieces right here are some good examples of what I was talking about in some previous videos, in terms of you know, you can kind of repair just about anything, and those videos are really fun because you can kind of see what you can do with the current state of a given card. And I don't know, it's kind of fun to kind of, I don't know, challenge yourself in terms of finishing something off that you might otherwise think is kind of a lost cause or whatnot. Now, I always tell people that I have hardly ever seen any cards, any scenes in progress that I thought were beyond repair. Usually when people show them to me, I would say 99% of them just, they don't look finished to me, so they just haven't kind of resolved them completely. All right, I mean, this isn't, you know, a really great example of it, because it's not usually in their first couple impressions or something like that that something, you know, someone gets to that point and says, oh my god, I'm just going to toss this out, or something like that. It's usually further along, but it's usually just a matter of like going a couple more colors, you know, a little bit darker here and there, kind of bringing everything together. And that's where I think most of the issues kind of lie. It's just in a state of incompletion, okay? But this is kind of an extreme case, so it makes for a good example of what you can do with your pieces. I don't know how this is going to come out, but we'll see. And it's a lot of fun, just in terms of I don't know, sometimes when you do kind of repair work like this, it takes you in a different direction than what you would normally do. And sometimes that's where the best techniques come about, you know, your best new processes or whatnot, because it's not something that we would normally do. Okay, so for this curvilinear road, I'm just stamping a sky figure. Maybe that was going to be high noon or something like that, with a billowy little light cloud or something like that, but now we have to take it darker just to try to really obscure kind of that second impression up there, that test impression. Okay, so I masked off, just with a ripped paper towel, that bottom, or the top part of the first impression of the curvilinear road. Now, I'm not really worried about that little area that didn't stamp, because I can just kind of fill it in. Okay, but we have that going right there. I stamped it fairly dark, and then I went into kind of a green scheme. You can kind of see the remnants of that second impression of that curvilinear road up there. But let's just do this again. Let's just go use this bottle green. I go bottle green and black. It doesn't matter what color you're doing. You can do it in any color scheme. You can just stamp this only in one color if you want to. I'm using the black and a combination of a hue in the form of green, just for a little bit of variation, okay? I like to do that on my kind of more solid images, just to get a little bit of a mixture going in here, okay? Take this. You can find videos just on the Milky Way large stamp on its own. There's a dedicated video to it, and there's dedicated videos just to night sky stamping as well. If you ever want to see any kind of videos in regards to specific images that you have. Like this one happens to be 059. You just go to the Stampscapes website and look up 059G. You can look up your stamps by name, Milky Way large, or you can look it up via, the codes, whatever kind of search parameters you want. But anyways, you just click on the thumbnail or the description of the stamp, and it'll bring up a separate window, and the Milky Way large stamp module page. There'll be examples of how to use this stamp, as well as instructional videos on how to use that stamp, okay? Alright, so anyways, that's filled in. I know it looks really blotchy, but we're kind of in the process right now of doing what we can with it. We'll see where it can go. Alright, now let's see, let's go ahead and use some distressing, some mementos. We'll use some Marvys in here as well. Someone asked about inks, and that's a really good point. I don't really talk about this every time I do it, but I talk about it a lot. But in my early videos, I don't really talk about the color I'm using, specific brand and line of inks, because I don't want people to get locked into... People get locked into things a lot of times. Like, they're used to taking classes where they're using really specific media. Okay, let's use the whatever brand, number, whatever, or color, name, and whatnot. Okay, now you're using this one, and you're using this tool to apply it, okay? And that is good if you have that media, okay? And it's just easy. It's an easy reference point. You can use that, and you just grab it. But what I usually like to say is I'm using a light green, a medium green, dark green, that type of thing, so that you can use whatever you have, or you can mix and match. Sometimes I don't have a light green like this, but I have a light blue and a pale yellow or something like that. And if you know a little bit about color blending and layering, you can just kind of use those combinations that will mix to form a version of that hue, okay? But distress inks are really good. I like to use them for my kind of earthier versions of a given hue, but I usually don't like one note stamping. I usually like to have, I don't know, several notes, in quotes. I'm not talking about literally. I'm talking about, let's say this green is a certain hue, right? Well, in a song or something like that, you don't want to just hear the same note being played over and over and over again, like da, 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 da. You know what I mean? You want variation, right? It could be played in a different octave or something like that, or whatnot, if you like music or whatever, right? So what I like to do is I like to kind of mix things up, and not every brand or line of pads is conducive for that, like the distress inks are really great. They have this aged look to them, right? Earthy, and what I like to do is I like to mix and match, so that has a really nice kind of aged look to it. I'd say the distress inks are, they're not designed to look really bright, because they're supposed to look aged and kind of worn and weathered, so you can kind of play around with a little. This is Bamboo, used by Memento. That has a nice kind of earthy look to it as well. It's kind of an olive, that I think that could easily be named olive too. Olive green, kind of a lighter olive green maybe. But see, I can already get a little bit of variation in here. I don't know if you can see that. So this one's a little bit more yellowy. This one's a little bit more just kind of a muted green here in the Memento. So you can play all these combinations off one another, and it's not as if these colors are laid side by side with each other, okay? We're overlapping them, so you can get this exponentially wider range of value, hue, and intensity, depending on what you're using. So let's try the Marvy number 11 light green, okay? And you can see what this one will do. Let's just use it in a small area right here. Can you tell the difference between this area and this area? See how much brighter this is right here? Brighter doesn't necessarily mean better. It's just a different intensity of that given hue. It might be a different temperature too. This Memento it's warm green, but it's not nearly as hot warm as this one right here. Okay? So mix and match. Like I said, if you don't have, I'll move into my darker greens, but let's say if we didn't have darker greens, I could easily put blue right over this. And because dye-based inks are transparent, you will get a darker version of blue. It might look a little bit blue-green, but it'll still look great. Okay. All right, now a lot of people don't have stylus tools either, right? Well, in a lot of videos that I've been doing lately, because stylus tools are no longer being produced by ClearSnap, I don't know if anyone's going to buy their equipment or whatever. I don't know where they manufactured that. If it was overseas, a lot of it might have been overseas, but look at this. You can get a really good application of ink just using a paper towel like this. Okay, you're using it kind of like a brush. Alright, so a lot of people get locked into tools or something like that too, but I've been doing some videos just on the usage of household items like cotton balls, paper towels, kitchen sponges for your applicators. So kind of look outside the box too, you know, in terms of, you know, not getting locked into specific types of things. Now, I mean, there are certain things out there in the art world like, you know, airbrushes or something like that, and if we only have a, you know, a number 2 paintbrush or something like that, chances are we're not going to get airbrush effects or something of that sort. But when it comes to us in the stamping world or whatnot, you know, if we're talking about ink application methods, you know, certainly that there are some tools that are going to lend themselves to a different type of look, okay? You know, if we're using a paintbrush, it's probably not going to look quite the same as like a paper towel or a sponge stylus tool. You know, you can try other types of things too, like cosmetic sponges. People got into recently, relatively recently, you know, those kind of cosmetic brushes, you know. But I don't know, just think about what we are doing, what the goal is of a certain type of medium or applicator, and think about the different things that might be really conducive for the look that you're going after. Okay, so doing something like this, I haven't tried it out. I mean, I really need to go out in the garage and look for a rag, but I think like an old t-shirt or something like that would be fantastic. I would just tear off a little piece of it, and that would be something that I would probably use over and over again. I would probably just rinse it out or really squeeze it out. I don't know. And it would be reusable, so even though I'm not using a lot of paper towels, this is like a, I don't know, like a 1/6 of one piece right here, and I could go for a full type of application on one thing. You know, I am probably tossing this out after that one use, but so I'm not, you know, I don't think it's too wasteful. It's definitely not, you know, as reusable as something like a sponge material, okay, but you know, there's still kind of an economy of usage, okay? And, I don't know, some people buy a lot of tools that they don't use, you know. This is something that we always have around. So, you buy some paper towels, you're using it for a lot of other things, you know, so they're, you know, they're being utilized a lot. Okay, so anyways, I'm going in here with my black ink now, and I'm starting to kind of render my shadows a little bit more, or a lot more, like right around this road right here. Okay, see that? Doesn't it look a little bit more dimensional there with a little bit of dark on light? You see, let's go into this area with the Milky Way a little bit more, and you don't have to make things look super smooth. It's kind of a amorphic type of sky, so it doesn't have to be perfectly blended in. It might even look better if it's kind of a little bit irregular. I'm leaving some of it light like that. I mean, at this point in time, I mean, several colors ago, I really don't see that curvilinear road second impression up there. So I don't think that's any kind of problem at all. All right. So what do we use here? We used 3 different brands of inks, okay? And they're all dye-based inks in this case. This is on glossy cardstock, by the way. But they're all going to harmonize. They should with each other. I mean, I wouldn't, in this type of process right here, I wouldn't be using a StazOn. I might stamp my imagery in StazOn if you want, but not this type of color blending. So, but that's a solvent ink though, right? But the dye-based inks, they all work together just fine. I'm not a, you know what? Pads look really awesome when they're all uniform like this, and they're all the same. And I get it, you know. We like our kind of work areas to look really cool too, and uniform and whatnot. But you know, I've been doing this for a while, and a lot of you have too, if you're brand new to it too. I think that it kind of comes down to more of the color rather than brand now. If I'm looking for a blue or a new blue or something like that, or if I'm looking at a new line of inks or something like that, if I already have an ink that's really close to that new brand or whatever, I don't really get it. I get a color that I don't have, you know, already. Sometimes several times over. I don't know, there's a lot more distress inks that I need to get, but like this walnut strain right here, I don't see that type of color in any other brand, you know. Not, you know, there might be something close, but that's the type of color that I would get, you know. And I got tumbled glass recently in the distress inks. This blueprint sketch is fantastic, but that tumbled broken china, you know, there's all kinds of different colors out there that are really nice and kind of that more aged, old type of look. But see, I like that in combination with my brighter, kind of real hot Marvy ones. Now this is walnut stain. I really like walnut stain in color schemes like sunsets or something like that. I think it kind of mellows things out a little bit. Look at that. It has that little bit of a brownish tinge to it. Otherwise this kind of color scheme gets a little hot. So does kind of sunset types of schemes with yellows and oranges and reds. Sometimes I like this kind of more mellow, earthy brown tone kind of laid into it. Doesn't look like that color right there because it's laid over the top of it, but you can see how that color influences kind of the end result. Look at that right there. Doesn't that look really deep in terms of the space? It doesn't look flat. It looks like there's kind of some dimension to it, and that's where all of that color layering comes into play. Now, a lot of you have things like alcohol pens, you know, whatever brand you might be using. You can do, these are perfect for things like adding shadow areas to, you know, spaces that just aren't super conducive with a paper towel or something like that. So you can kind of color this in like so. Use your blending skills and tools, you know, to blend those colors out a little bit, you know, and to really kind of accentuate the shadow areas to create depth and lighting within a piece. You can mix and match. Here's like a real super pale, kind of peachish tone. This one's biscuit. Okay, but you don't have to get, get locked into any type of brand of this either. Okay. Alright, so I'm not even thinking about that second impression up there. I mean, I haven't for a while because I can't see it. So, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. Alright, let's just add in a little bit of foreground to this one. This one would look really cool too. Let's, I mean, we're trying to obscure and make something out of nothing here, so let's try to maximize this a little bit more. I love bleed-proof white. If you've watched these videos, you'll know that. I find it to be a really fantastic medium. It's an opaque watercolor, and I just like applying it with a old toothbrush, right? So here we go with another kind of household item. Okay. If you ever do this, you'll love it. You won't love it if you... I'm not going to apply it like this and get a big blob right here, so I kind of do it off my page like this and I spray onto it, okay? I need to add a little bit of water to this because it's coming out as a really super fine mist, but look at that right there. Isn't that fun? Doesn't that give that area up there a lot more dimension now too? And this stuff, it's so awesome. It really dries very, very quickly. It's like one of those things that calligraphers use when they're doing hand lettering on something. They use that medium a lot, because they do a lot of light on dark applications. Okay. All right, now I'm just going to use this tree right here. It just happens to be on my desk. Let's go with a VersaFine black, okay? Something nice and dark, crisp over the top of this. I have a lot of layered ink that I've used in this piece to obscure kind of a what would have been kind of a throwaway piece of paper, right? But I think we can, in the end result, I mean, I already like, what I see here. It's a pretty good scene. I mean, it's better than tossing it out, in other words. I'm giving this a little bit of extra pressure because that bleed-proof white is raised slightly, because it really just dries, really soon after it hits the surface. Okay, so look at that right there. Let me see if I can get this on here. Okay, I'm going to try to put this row of trees right on the other side of the road right here. Okay, I don't want it in the road, otherwise it would look like it's blocking it off. Let me see if I inked up enough. Let's ink up a little bit more. Sometimes I always recommend inking up more than you think you're going to need, even if you're going to use a small portion of a stamp. Try to ink up a little bit more, because that's better than kind of stamping it down and realizing, oh my gosh, I didn't ink it up enough, and you get some kind of blank space on your scene. Alright. I might be blocking off some of the parts of that curvilinear road, but the depth that we'll achieve with this, hopefully, will kind of compensate for the loss of some of the imagery. Yeah, see that like that? So we have this kind of tree on the other side of the road. It makes for a nice kind of visual entryway, doesn't it? Like that. Yeah, that looks really good right here. I feel like we can add a little bit more shadows down here now too, with the use of this tree. I think that tree really made it too, don't you think? Kind of this framing here. It makes for a nice what do I call it? Lead-in. I call it a visual lead-in. Okay, because it kind of lets your viewer through the scene, or it kind of leads them into the scene by having an opening like that. And it's just kind of natural. It's this natural kind of inclination to want to know what's around the corner. You know, as long as it's not this ominous-looking thing. Hopefully, you know, I don't see this scene as something ominous, but yeah, even if it was ominous, maybe it'd be good for like a, I don't know, some sort of a, oh, I don't know, like a Halloween piece or something like that. Okay, let's add something else here too. I like these trees right here, but let's go for a little bit of scale. Okay, let's do this one in the Marvy black. Okay. The Marvy black isn't quite as dark. It's pretty dark though, but maybe not quite as dark as the VersaFine. The VersaFine's going to be wet here too for a while. I don't know how long. Maybe even a few hours, because I'm stamping it over the top of you know, a pretty thick layer of ink that I've already applied. Okay. This one's in the background, then I'll mask off the top portion of the curvilinear road, and I'll go for some more trees back in there. Okay, so I get something like that. They're not anchored though, so here's what I'm going to show you. Okay, by anchoring I mean kind of a visual anchor. All right. Let's grab my stylus tool here. All right, so down here, I mean, look, this is kind of being backlit, so what I'm going to do is we're going to add a little bit more shadows down here. Okay, or shadow area. Okay, so I did that right there. So this is getting a little bit darker, so see that anchors that tree down, but these ones don't have any shadows underneath it, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to very lightly, I'll take off some of this ink right here too, and I'll just kind of add a little bit of tone right at the base of them. This is what I'm doing right here. This is how it makes it really easy. See how there's barely anything there? This is where things get easy, okay? Things aren't, people tend to think that kind of landscape stamping is precarious, and it can be. Any type of stamping is a little bit more precarious. It's like watercolor painting or something like that, which I'm not good at. But things are a little bit more precarious the faster you do it, right? If I'm applying a really thick layer of this black ink like that, you know, I mean, it's going to be a lot harder to control than if I go like, let me see my, oh, I can't see it here. See, if I go like that, like really hard, that's leaving a big line, right? But if I go like this, now see, this is really dry now. If I go like this, it barely shows anything. That's like 10 taps, right? So why not utilize that to your advantage? See, I'm doing this because I know it'll start showing up the more I do it, but sometimes when people go like this, if they're not used to that, they go like that, they can't see anything. So they go like that, and they think, oh my god, I'm getting shapes everywhere. Well, it's because they're trying too fast. They want to see kind of immediate results. And while this isn't, you know, I mean, this is pretty immediate to me, but it just, you know, I'm doing it through repetition. See, it took like 3 seconds instead of like a quarter second of, you know, this, you know, you just kind of build it up a little bit more and slowly, and then you get a lot of control over your application time or whatever. Application, yeah, time. Okay, so anyways, so see, I put those trees and a little bit of shade right in the background there. So it kind of anchors them down a little bit. I might have added too much, but I don't know, it looks okay. So this one down here, let's go with a little bit more of the black now, okay? I'm kind of doing it on its edge here too. I mean, you can do it with a paper towel. Let me try it with a paper towel here, okay? This is my black on here. Okay, and I'm just tapping it on like this gently, like this, slowly, okay. It's not any kind of shocking kind of application process, speed, time, whatever. It's a very, very gradual, and I'm using the darkest color that we can in black right now too, so see, this is your kind of your application method right here. See that? It's just 10 taps and it's like a 5% gray, right? So think about it like applying like a powder or something like that to a scene. You know, this is one of the things I've been doing too in my latest videos. I'm doing this exercise thing where, you know, you can kind of create a little bit of a vignette and you can get this ink application range, okay? See that right there? It's not this harsh black just all of a sudden right here and then, you know, it's green. It's kind of transitioning it. So you add it in the corner and see, this is what you do. You just use your drier versions moving towards your lighter area, okay? So every time you re-ink this, kind of start on the edge and stay out there for a while. If you're using a super dark, juicy pad, you might want to blot it off a couple times. Alright, now to me, this is where this one piece is really starting to come together too, with this black here on the side. It's really making those lighter areas seem that much lighter by contrast. It's kind of making my lights come alive, isn't it? By taking the area and making it darker. But utilize the drier version and then come in here like this so you can kind of create a range of those black tones. That's what I was doing in my exercise with the monochromatic dark colors from a couple videos ago. Shows you how to kind of create that transition of tones and values, okay? And it was good for me to do too. I mean, I haven't done one of those just pure one stamp pad monochromatics in a while, but to me, after I did that, it kind of gives me control and command over my darker tones when I do them in colored pieces like this, okay? Alright. It's kind of the mystery of the road there, huh? Like this country road. If we were, you know, astronomers or whatever, we can go out on that road, down the road, and set up our telescopes, right? This is a white acrylic paint pen. You can kind of go in here if you have a metallic gold pen. I think gold and the green tones work really well together. Or you have a green glitter pen, wouldn't that look fantastic on this piece? Okay, so anyways, I'm kind of doing what I did with the Dr. Martens, except I can go for, you know, really specific applications of this. Okay, look at that. That is really fun. I'm looking over my some of my gel pens here. This one's a dark green glitter. You can tell because it has that kind of that glitter barrel right here and cap. I don't think I've used this one yet. I have a Shuttle Art set. Now I can't see this at all over the top of my scene, but hopefully, you know, when I hold it up to the light, maybe some of that glitter will be really reflective. This is like one of those very subtle things. If you give this, I mean, it could be for yourself as well. But if, or you know, it'd be good too. Are those Wink of Stella pens? You can use that. You know, those glitter pens. You know, something like that's really fun. But if you give this to someone and if they hold it up in the light, it's that extra little thing, you know, to kind of really add an extra layer of something. Let's see if we can see it here. Yeah, can you see this right here? Watch this. See how it kind of illuminates? I mean, I have it throughout. Yeah, you can see some of these pieces right here, or some of these dots. But then when you kind of see how those ones kind of come alive like that, it's like they're little glistening little bits. I put it all over the place, so it kind of brings these area to life. I love doing that type of thing. Oh, someone was talking about I think glow in the dark glue. I need to put that on my list of things to buy. But wouldn't this be fantastic to put those little glow in the dark little dots down here? And you give it to them, they can charge it up, and they can put it in the closet. It'd be really fantastic if you give it to kids, though, especially, you know, and that'd be fun for them to take that into you know, a closet or something like that. They can charge it up and go and check it out. All right, let's just do something up here in the sky. I'm just going to do this. I think it's kind of, you know, you put these little birds or something like that. There's a certain type of romance to that, you know. I mean, you can do all kinds of other things too. You can add a little pigment ink or something like that. Let's try this. I think this will be my one scene. I'll do something else with that cloud one in a different video. This one I got too interested in and I spent too much time with it. But that's what happens, right? I mean, that's a good thing. You kind of get lost in the piece, and like I said, there's all kinds of things and possibilities that kind of emerge, you know, once you're working on them. And I don't know, this was basically a throwaway piece of paper, and I have thrown away cards like that before. It's like, oh, there was a piece of lint on my stamp and it didn't, you know, stamp out. And, you know, if I'm at a convention or something like that where I want to show something specific, I just kind of, you know, toss that piece of paper or whatnot. But it is really fun to go in and kind of explore the possibilities of certain types of situations that you might have felt were kind of more of an error or a mistake, and they might have been from your initial intentions, but you can come up with some really fun types of looks as a result. So for me, the thing that I had to work around was there was an extra impression of a road up here, okay? So I had to go dark up there. All right, so I stamped out my Milky Way in a fairly dark color in the black and green. And I just felt like working in that green color scheme. Like I said, it could have been any color because it was a neutral impression of just kind of gray up there. But anyways, you know, merging these two areas together with the use of this these dark pines here, and then going into the repetition of imagery. When you have things like this, you know, in the foreground, design-wise, it's good to, you know, if you want to, you can add smaller versions of these things so that you have kind of a repetition of shape throughout a piece. And from a design aspect or design angle, it's good to have that type of continuity. It brings continuity to the overall by having kind of a repetition of certain types of shapes throughout your piece. Let's see, in here, we're talking about, do you see how I kind of streaked in some color? Like around this curvilinear road, there's this area right here that gets darker, and then over here, this area gets darker. Well, that goes back to this type of streaking like this. See this little streak like this? This is what's happening right in here. Can you see it? See this darker range like that? Okay. And there we have it right there. So if you're watching some of these videos in sequence or whatnot, you can find that these things are everywhere in here. Here's this one like this. This one right back here kind of goes like this, okay, on that curvilinear road. So it's basically like this, or this one, whatever, right in here, okay? So it's not a new technique or something like that specific to this composition. And then right up here we had that toning in. It's basically this single point of focus of light where it gets darker over here, and as it moves in it gets lighter, and we talked about that in the previous video as well. So yeah, here it is right here. So this type of thing right here, this is just around a bunch of clouds, right? Well, in here it just, that same kind of interior lighting like that. I mean, this is done in blues, of course, but here we have the same interior lighting like that, so it goes from light, incrementally darker. This one's darker because it's the Milky Way instead of a bunch of billowy light clouds, though. But it's that same type of coloring scheme right there. So, the last couple videos, this is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You're using that kind of streaky thing and the transitioning kind of source of light value scale. Okay, so anyways, fun stuff. I really enjoy doing these types of things, and if you have any pieces that you think are not recoverable, and I don't know, you feel like giving this a try, give it a try on there. And if you can't think of anything at all, send them to me. I would love to take a crack at it. And, these things are a lot of fun. It provides a little bit of an extra little twist and challenge. And I don't know, sometimes I think, some of these pieces like this, I come up with my kind of most innovative compositions as a result of it, because I have to work around a certain kind of set of existing parameters that are already on the page. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video, hope you like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop me a note in the comments section.